test for biology of the soil.
Yes.
What do you mean by that? What do you test for? What specifically?
Well, as opposed to, it's called a bioassay. It's a really elaborate we do through Soil Food Web in New York, and as opposed to an NPK cation exchange, organic matter, sort of a UMass type test. They test for biology. They test for nematode count. They test for different types of fungi, amoeba, protozoa, and various bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
So we sort of get a readout versus desired parameters, and we get a readout then basically of what the soil sample is representing.
And what do you compare it against? Do you have a standard?
Desired levels.
So you have sort of a standard where you have what should be there and what isn't there? Is that what?
Well, what we would need in that particular, in the main thing with residential lawns is what, a turf grass plant for an ideal scenario for it to thrive and grow and outcompete and continue to prosper and to maybe to fill in bare spots and not allow broadleaf weed intrusion.
And you said that you had you tested for glyphosate.
Yes.
Who tests for you?
I haven't personally done that. I'm not a scientist, but Cornell has done a lot of studies on it. I know there's a guy with the USDA. I can't think of his name off the bat, who has done extensive studies with glyphosate, especially in Roundup Ready. It's Roundup Ready form for growing food crops. And I also know the USDA has been very reluctant to release those results of that. So.
Great. Do you have anything else? Is there another question? Yes.
Just on top of Bill's.
I don't want to take away Laura's thunder.
That's okay.
Part of that soil testing is mineral
Yes.
nutrient testing part of that whole package?
Yes.
It is. And then as far as the comment about roots for grass plants 3 feet deep, what soil profile is that in? That's pure sand?
It starts off as pure sand. If we're building, if we get to import loam and compost and actually build like a site in part of our contracting business, our landscaping business, then we would build that initially, that type of system in there with a foot or more so with loam. But by basically working from the top down with our liquid tea, we're basically adding organic matter in liquid form onto the foliage and into the soil and as a drench. And creating organic matter as we go from the top down.
Is tea being produced here on the Cape or elsewhere?
Yes.
Here on the Cape?
Yeah.
And it's your own special tea?
It's our own special, yeah, it's basically, it's really, compost tea has been around like for millennia. It's old world science basically that we're just sort of using in a new form for turf management.
Yes?
You are comparing turf management here with rights of way. It is well known that turf management, conventional turf management, has a very high pesticide use, even compared to agricultural applications. The rights of way management, in contrast, has a very low use, only herbicides, in a very low frequency and application rate. So I'm not sure how you can compare a very intensive pesticide use on turf with this rights of way management that is considered here.
Well, I'm not sort of comparing it. What I'm saying is that the success of soil biology has given us the ability contractually, as a profit-making enterprise, to not use chemicals, or very little chemicals anymore. Certainly not to use 2,4-D for weed control.
So which is actually similar to what rights of way management does. They use an integrated approach where there is a little use of chemical herbicides, but also other management practices, with the goal to establish a diverse, low-growing vegetation.
Okay. Well, to me, it's least toxic method, IPM type approach. To that, I would probably use a mowing approach or a cutting approach.
Right, similar to what rights of way management has as a goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I said, when we've tested in residential lawns, we haven't found any little or no beneficial organic matter and soil biology in chemically treated turf, chemically managed turf. So, common sense would dictate to me then that in order to have less inputs and to manage land, it makes sense maybe to look at a different approach.
Rights of way has very low fertilizer, no insecticides, natural more or less natural vegetation
Yeah.
with low impacts. So that way it's very similar to your approach.
Okay, Steve first.
The blending of that might be that you might get less reintroduction of undesirables if you took a more active management role in growing what's on the right of way. Now that is a long discussion, but it seemed to blend the two things together.
Right.
I'll be discussing that further, yeah.
There's one question from
I wanna
the
get
audience
Laura
here, and
back
that-
here.
and that will be it. We'll let Laura
When
get
you
back
do
up.
your analysis, do you do looking for residue chemicals in there from the spraying and all that stuff that's
No.
done? So you're just looking for natural material in there?
Yeah. It's a more involved test to really do, to really go in there, and a lot of those compounds turn into unrecognizable compounds. They're hard to trace with the type of testing equipment that we're involved with.